is it fair to call the Steelers the AFC Vikings at this point? I mean, moving into them, they're in an interesting spot too, right? I mean, they don't really have their quarterback per se, right? I mean, Kenny Pickett's there, but we know where he stands. I think there was a lot of leverage on, they fired Matt Canada, and then they won the very next
That
week.
always
But
happens.
then, right, and then back-to-back losses against 2-win teams, right? At this stage of the season, back-to-back losses against 2-win teams. Nobody wants it to lose against 2-win teams at all in the NFL, but for the Steelers, I feel like it's almost unacceptable at this point. It falls kind of really below expectations when you go and you fire your offensive coordinator and you're expecting better things, and then you get a win, and then back-to-back you lose against two of the worst teams in the league. It's incredibly frustrating for Steelers fans. I know it is. They hit their low point in week 13 against the Arizona Cardinals, and then the New England Patriots turn around and Bailey Zappi turns into prime Tom Brady, and he does his thing, right? So what are your thoughts on that?
I'm very, very excited to see Mike Tomlin as the head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers next year and what he can bring to the table. I think it's over in Pittsburgh. I also think it's over in New England. Congratulations, you've had the same three coaches for the last 6-7 years. I'm very proud of you as a franchise. But if you look at the trend the NFL is going, is Mike Tomlin's a great motivator, man. But when everything is going wrong, when things go bad for the Cowboys offense, Mike McCarthy changes it up. He switches his game plans. He calls a different play. When things are going bad for the 49ers, Kyle Shanahan switches it up and they call a different play. And I don't know if we talked about this last week or not, but the CEO head coaches, the head coaches that don't call plays, it's a dying trend in the NFL. And if you don't think you couldn't
call them rah guys,
if you don't think you could ask the Eagles secretly if they'd rather kept Shane Steichen last year over Nick Sirianni, I know what the answer is. They'd rather have Sirianni. Look what he's doing this year. And not Sirianni. They'd rather have Steichen.
I was gonna say it's a little weird.
They'd rather have Steichen. Look what he's doing. He directly controls the game. Mike McDaniels in Miami. He directly controls the game. When shit starts hitting the fan in Pittsburgh, what does Mike Tomlin do? Should I call a timeout right now? And that's why you build up the staffs. That's why you have the staffs. Right. But when your staffs keep getting stolen from year after year, the 49ers don't even have an offensive coordinator this year. They don't have a named offensive coordinator. They have a QB coach, which is Brian Griese, but our staff has been stolen from year after year. Our front office has been stolen year after year, and we're still the cream of the crop in the NFL because their head coach calls plays.
Yep.
Mike McCarthy calls plays. You can't you could take the Cowboys offensive coordinator. That didn't obviously work out very well. So I think for teams like the Steelers, now the Vikings are a different situation because their head coach calls the plays. But I think Mike Tomlin has enough of equity built up in him that he'll get another job. Obviously, I think if he got fired tomorrow, he'd be hired the next day. Like I said, I think I could see him in LA. But teams are merging away from that because when everything shit hits the fan and things go wrong, these coaches don't have as much oomph as they used to because the players come in, their bodies are ready. They have their own nutritionists. They have their own chefs. They don't need a rah-rah to get them in shape and get them ready. And I'm not exactly sure after 15, 18 years, however long he's been there, what he brings to the table anymore. He didn't fire Canada to take over play calling duty. It's just one of those situations. I'm not sure when things are going wrong for them. And, he said when they drafted Pickett, he was super excited to start his legacy over with building up a quarterback. And, they drafted wrong. You can't take that player in the first round. He's not a first-round player. But I just think when you have two of the back-to-back, the worst losses that the Steelers have probably had in terms of the record and the games, I'm not exactly sure what's left for him over there in Pittsburgh.
And when you lose a locker room, I think that's, especially for like a coach like Tomlin, you lose the team. You're done, right? Mark Cobley, He is a senior writer for The Athletic. He covers the Steelers. He's actually pretty close with the team. He's been close with them for many years. He's been quoted as saying, I guess what's a little bit troublesome is the players, the organization, this group of guys, they don't seem to be as tight. They don't seem to be as interested as in years past. I think the one thing that Mike Tomlin is always taken away of is, well, no losing record. But is it really impressive when now last couple of years we're just talking about mediocrity, right? Would you want a losing record where you can tank, or do you want to be in the purgatory of the NFL and you can never change because you don't have a high enough draft pick and nobody wants to go over there because everybody's just mediocre? Where would you rather be? Would you rather be the Chicago Bears or the Steelers, where you have lots of draft capital, a lot of cap space, or would you rather be middle of the pack and you can't really do anything with it?
No, I mean the thing about both those franchises is they have a dedicated fan base. You're not worried about selling out your stadium. You definitely want to be the Bears. You know who you don't want to be? You don't want to be the Panthers. You don't have a pick, you suck, and you have no draft stock. Like that team is in trouble, especially down there in Carolina. But you don't franchise quarterbacks only come around, true franchise quarterbacks. Obviously, Dak Prescott, 4th round pick, right? Not third, fourth. Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, things like that. The Steelers, maybe they go out and get Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
But
it's a Band-Aid over a machete, slash on their chest. That's what it feels like.
But the Steelers are also not the prototypical team that's going to blow everything up and build over from the start. They've been the cream of the crop in the AFC for many, many years, and it feels like that's a team that's going to continue to retool instead of rebuild. And those are big distinguishing things with NFL franchises is some continue to retool and some will blow it up and rebuild. And I just don't see the Steelers rebuilding. I think they'll try to retool.
And some of the franchises fail at that, right? I mean, we see Tom Brady leave the Patriots, right? And what does Bill Belichick do, right? He tries to retool. They go out, they get Mac Jones. Cool, great. Not sure what that's going to do, but then you go out and you get other offensive weapons like Jonnu Smith and who was the other tight end that they got same offseason? Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith. So they were going out and they were trying to get offensive weapons for him, and they're trying to build it around. They're trying to retool, right? They're trying to reload, not rebuild. And it's not worked. A lot of it falls on the quarterback play, obviously. But you did mention Mike Tomlin, Chargers. Where does Bill Belichick go, though? Because I have an interesting theory on where I think he might go.
I think he has to go somewhere where a strong front office is in place. I think another trend in the NFL that's going away is this head coach being the GM type thing. It doesn't work. It doesn't work out. It doesn't work out in a lot of places. Now, a lot of people are confused on this. The 49ers have a GM, but Kyle Shanahan's the boss. You know what I mean? I guarantee you that John Lynch at the time wasn't super hyped to trade away half our draft closet for Christian McCaffrey. But Kyle Shanahan had the final decision on that. Kyle Shanahan is the one that made us trade up for Joe Williams. I know you probably don't know who that is because he's not in the league anymore. Who is the wide receiver? Dante Pettis. Speaking of Dante Pettis, Jake Browning's wide receiver in college, him and John Ross. Kyle Shanahan made all these decisions because he's the boss. But we have a general manager. This whole Bill Belichick thing where he's the general manager and there's nobody in the building that can walk up to him and say, hey, Max sucks. Maybe we shouldn't go this route. I don't think you're not going to see that too much more going forward. So I think wherever Bill lands, he ends up with a very strong front office. I also think you're going to see Josh McDaniels as his offensive coordinator again, unless Josh just doesn't want to coach, because I think Josh has proven that offensive coordinator wise, he's really good. I think it's a fitting wrap up to the debate that has plagued, been the last 10 years of the Brady Belichick thing. Clearly, everything that stood in Brady's way is the greatest of all time. First, it was Peyton Manning, and then it was, it's just Belichick. All that's been handled. All that's been finalized. He's the greatest of all time, and it was him all along. As far as a landing spot for Bill Belichick, I I don't know. Everything that's up in the air, man. I just love the Raiders. I love
Hmm.
all these players to the Raiders. I love Jim Harbaugh to the Raiders. I love Bill Belichick to the Raiders. I don't think Bill Belichick's going to Las Vegas, so that's probably not going to be um, it. I think what'll happen, and obviously you have an idea, and I'm super excited to hear that because I don't have much. I think what'll happen is you'll see a team that we're not expecting to lose their head coach. I mean, I would love to see him go to LA and be the Chargers head coach, but Spanos won't pay for Belichick. He's a $20 million a year coach, so that's not going to happen.
Yeah. No.
I think it'll be a team that is kind of like, oh wow, they fired their coach. I'm surprised by that. Might be where he
Mm-hmm.
ends up.
Yep. And that's where exactly I'm going right now. Okay.
Just don't say Tennessee. You gonna say Tennessee?
He's no.
They better
Nope.
not fire
He's not
Vrabel.
going. He's not going West Coast. He's staying East Coast. He's actually a very spiteful man, and he wants to stick it to Robert Kraft, and he wants to beat him twice a year.
Jets?
He's going to Buffalo.
Oh, really? He's going to Buffalo.
He's going to Buffalo. So and the thing is you talked about McDaniels following him around, right? Where's that offensive coordinator? He's gone, right? McDermott might have the whole he's safe, he's all good. But one second. Apparently my do not disturb doesn't work when my sister's calling me for some reason. That's awesome. So
Frickin' Shelby.
let me timestamp that real quick. Yeah, I know. Thanks. I appreciate that. So I think that with McDermott, I know that the media says, hey, he's safe, right? We're going to go out there and we're going to say Sean McDermott is not on the hot seat. He's all solid. But like you said, if he loses to the Chiefs right there, he might be automatically on the hot seat. I think we're talking about if he either one doesn't make the playoffs or two, they don't make it very far. Their first round exit. I think that Bill Belichick is a type of guy who doesn't want to move around. He doesn't want to go West Coast. I think he stays in a place he's very familiar in playing in, a very familiar environment, a very familiar setting in terms of where he wants to live. I don't think he wants to move. And I think he wants to play the same teams. And I think he wants to be spiteful. And I think he wants to go, I'm going to beat you twice a year.
He also does not want to retool, and he does not want to rebuild.
No.
So I
not at all.
Honestly love the idea of that, especially considering the fact that that defense already has pieces, and you just need an offensive coordinator to put it together for Josh Allen. And
yep.
Now I will say this. I think that it's going to take draft capital to get Belichick. And I don't know if they would trade him to the Bills, man. So I do not see, they came out earlier this offseason that they signed him to an extension. They're going to fire him. Are they going to part ways with him? Or are they going to trade him?
I just saw a report. It was a rumor. There's this page that I follow on Instagram. Shout out NFL Preem. They come out with like a bunch of news super duper earlier than ESPN and all those other guys, and they come out with a bunch of rumors that are actually pretty spot on a lot of the times. It's expected that they're supposed to part ways and that he's supposed to get released.
Okay.
So that's the rumor mill right now. Currently, that's the expectation. He's going to get released at the end of the season, regardless of what happens the rest of the season or what the plan is. He's getting released.
I think that he's proven that he's not the draft guy that we think he is, and they're in lockstep for one of those picks up there. And I don't know what they're going to do if they come up with the 4th or 5th pick, because I don't think Bo Nix or Michael Penix or any of those guys are that high. I think it's Caleb and it's Drake May, and then, but if the Cardinals come in second, they're not moving off Kyler Murray, so. Maybe the 3rd or 4th pick is high enough. We'll see. I love that. I mean, I love the Bills because I don't have to